Hey, what's good, self-direct investors? I hope you're doing great, and I want to welcome you back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jordan. I am the mind behind Make More Capital, the financial education brand that hopes to make everyone a little bit more financially literate. And today we're going to do the first standalone segment of This Week in Cannabis. If you've not seen any of my series, Reality Check Cannabis in 2020, that's everything you need to know about the plant. And within that series, I was doing little segments of This Week in Cannabis. So I'm actually going to carry this one forward and do one every Sunday and just run back what has happened in the industry in the last week, so that if you're interested in investing in the industry or you're curious to learn more, you can just tune in to these short episodes and get caught up. Now, before we go, if you at any point during this video, make sure you leave a like. It really helps out the channel a lot. And if you enjoyed this video, find it helpful, or you've seen any others, or you want to see ETF breakdowns or my series, please make sure that you subscribe as well. Would really appreciate it. Helps my channel out a lot. And then lastly, if you've yet to open up your self-directed tax-free savings account, there's a link below to Questrade and Wealthsimple Trade. Also, Wealthsimple, the robo-advisor, three of the most cost-effective options you have investing in Canada right now. And if you open up an account with them, you will get some free money for doing so, and I will be able to help you navigate those platforms and educate you on how to start self-directing yourself. But let's jump into it. So today, this is the truth, and that's why I'm like a kid in a candy store waiting for Tuesday to happen, just so that this nonsense and this ridiculous fake or this just ridiculous media coverage is over for at least another 2 to 3 years. Take a nice break from that. But as we go in, Trump does not have a plan for cannabis. Biden does have a plan for cannabis. So this is huge. Obviously, if the election goes one way, we're going to normalize this industry a lot faster. If the election goes the other way, it's going to take more time, but I will actually explain why this could actually be more beneficial. I'm going to explain why either turnout is actually going to be more beneficial for the cannabis industry in general. So, nonetheless, let's dive in. How the U.S. elections are primed to change the pot industry as we know it. This is literally the various scenarios of what can happen. Now, I've covered this in the series. If you've been following along, good for you, because, I think this is good information to be following, and there's opportunity here. But nonetheless, if the Democrats take the Senate majority and the House and Biden wins presidency, then chances are, sooner than later, the MORE Act, which will deschedule cannabis from the Schedule 1 classification, deeming it too addictive and has no medical value despite being legal in 33 states, the MORE Act will take it out of that scheduling, and it will decriminalize cannabis federally, so that I'm pretty sure medical will become legal nationwide, and then every state will be responsible for creating their own cannabis laws. And so that's what will happen if there's a sweep and the MORE Act passes. Now, the States Act is another bill with pretty much the similar measures, but it's legislation that would allow states to regulate cannabis sales with no federal government involvement. So the MORE Act would likely be the one that covers the decriminalization, the descheduling, and the federal medical legalization, and then the States Act would be allowing the states to do that on their own. So the second potential outcome is that if the Democrats win the House and the Senate, but Trump becomes the presidency, the MORE Act will not likely be able to get passed as quickly as possible. I still think it could, but they're going to go with the States Act instead, and that States Act, again, is the one that allows states to regulate cannabis sales with no federal government legislation. So the good thing is that this States Act would actually allow states to operate without fear of federal oversight, without having to pass the MORE Act. Now, the MORE Act is important because the thing that Americans want, the thing that you want for the most freedom, is to have cannabis descheduled. You want it taken out of the Schedule 1 classification, because then it can't be controlled. If it's moved into another schedule, the government can still control it. You don't want that. You want it taken out completely free, and that would benefit people the most. But nonetheless, that would be that outcome if Trump is elected. So the States Act would pass, allowing states to do it without intervention. But then the Safe Banking Act introduced This is the exciting thing. The Safe Banking Act was actually in the bill in the next stimulus package that was supposed to go through. And this is why, even if, let's say, the Republicans win the Senate, the House, and the presidency, the next best option would be the Safe Banking Act to pass. And again, basically same outcome. Trump goes in, the Safe Banking Act. This would allow banks to actually work with cannabis companies in states where it's legal. So right now, banks, financial institutions, they do not work with or lend with any of these companies. So basically, this would allow them to do that. And that just, helps these companies not have to operate in cash. It gives them lines of credit. It just helps them scale their business a lot more easily. And it allows these big institutions to work with these companies without fear of getting prosecuted by the government as well. So nonetheless, this is kind of good for the cannabis industry. And I'm just going to jump over to this article from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Cannabis no longer so divisive draws more conservative support. And so, of course, much has been said whether a victory for Democratic nominee Joe Biden, the potential sweep in the Senate could bolster marijuana companies. That's one potential outcome. And then apparently the initiative on the ballot has been drawing support from conservatives as well. And these are the votes on the ballot that are in, I believe, New Jersey, Arizona, South Dakota. Now, this is different for recreational and for medical, but Arizona, Montana, South Dakota, these three are for recreational. Recreational, and then New Jersey, which will swing liberal, is also considering adult use, and then medical is only getting passed in Mississippi and South Dakota. But nonetheless, that's 5 more states on this bill gaining support, and where they do mention down here is that not to say that the at least the attitude is changing, but we do see similar from that same past article is first up might be the States Act. So this is at least getting bipartisan support. So both parties seem to be okay with letting the States Act get passed at some point, which is again just giving legal states or giving states basically saying, hey states, we're not going to go after you if you legalize this. So again, that's not the best possible outcome, but that's a good thing. The States Act would be an ideal candidate, but the Safe Banking Act is essentially the one that allows banks to work with these companies, and that gives these companies a greater potential to just scale up their businesses, which for investors and big institutions looking out for this, that's something they're paying attention to, because right now, big U.S. companies still have trouble investing in these cannabis companies that are putting up phenomenal numbers. Next week, they're going to be putting out new ones. And that's one thing that they still can't even get into yet. So the moment that the Safe Banking Act gets passed, that would allow banking, and then next after the MORE Act, which altogether legalizes cannabis under the table, happens if the Biden victory takes place. So as we could see from this, these are the potential outcomes, and more is being said just to reinforce that. And it's just nice that at least these differences can all kind of come together over time. It doesn't have to happen right away. But one thing I wanted to cover is that the U.S. House includes the Safe Banking Act in the latest COVID relief package. This is the package that unfortunately got passed back and forth and they could not agree on, and then eventually Mitch McConnell just decided to push it until November 9th, or at least until the Senate would resume. So like the next stimulus bill, which is the newest version of the HEROES Act, which was passed in May, that stimulus, this includes the Safe Banking Act. So if this actually does get passed, that would be huge, because that literally tells investors, like, look, we're going to start allowing these big banks and institutions to start investing. So, like, know who your picks are, get the companies ready you want to invest into. This is just huge. This ends the double standard of not allowing banks or institutions to do businesses with cannabis companies. So, nonetheless, this is very important, but it's nice. It's nice that this is in the bill, because regardless of what happens, if a blue wave does not take place, we're going to see some progress in the cannabis industry regardless. So, now the unfortunate news for the week, 2 countries did not allow their efforts to legalize cannabis recreationally for adult use to go forward, which is very sad. Not even, it's just sad in general, but mainly because of just, cannabis is not a matter of good or bad. It's just a matter of personal freedom and the choice to have the freedom to consume an alternative to alcohol if you don't like it, or something like it. It's just the principle of personal freedom. That's why you want it as an option, not even just so that. Anyways, but New Zealand voters rejected that, and obviously I think New Zealand's population is roughly 4 million. 1.1 million voters supported it, 1.28 million were opposed. Now, they're still actually recalculating and adding these votes. Hopefully from these people that are a little more liberal, living abroad, they're going to, sway it the other direction. It's very unlikely. You need a high percentage of this, at least like 60%, but it's possible. Nonetheless, as of right now, New Zealand did not pass, and it's just sad because, when you consider a population might be 4 million, that's only about, 2 point something showing up to actually vote. So this is really just likely the older generation showing up, saying no, and really making legislation for the younger generation that's going to have to deal with it for the next however many years. It's just silly when you think about it, but nonetheless, it's just about personal freedoms, really, and that's just a shame. And unfortunately, Germany firmly rejects recreational marijuana legalization bill as hopes fade and reform. But nonetheless, Germany still has the largest recreational, or the largest medical market outside of North America, which is great. But the thing is, I was actually anticipating New Zealand would pass this. I was hoping that it would get the coverage and actually happen. Now, unfortunately, though, and from what I've just been reading in forums and gathering from other people's opinions, is that this was never actually in line to pass. This was just more of an effort to it was an attempt to get it passed, and the main thing is I shouldn't even be speaking on this much because I don't know a whole lot of Germany's politics, but nonetheless, just another example of, unfortunately, they did not see the need to, main thing for these two countries, they don't have the problems that the U.S. has with, overpopulated prisons, racial injustice, or heavily unfair policing practices, arresting people for simple possessions. They don't have any of these problems, so it's really not that big of a deal for them. That's why the U.S. is really such a deal breaker for that. So anyways, yeah, it just sucks. It's a loss of personal freedom and choice there, but whatever. Now, Gwyneth Paltrow says cannabis is the hero ingredient of the future. I totally agree, as she invests in cannabis-infused beverage maker. This is just great. It's just funny because more celebrities are going to be coming on and taking advantage of this train. Now, in these companies is not where you're likely going to make your money. You want to choose the best LPs in Canada or the MSOs in the US. But again, this coverage is what's going to normalize cannabis, and it's just great to see articles coming out like this as well. Her, undisclosed investment in Can, this cannabis-infused beverage maker. Now, unfortunately, though, if you've seen some of my other videos, cannabis beverages, at least in Canada, are a total flop. They did not even sell $1 million worth in 3 months from April to June. So, unfortunately, Gwyneth, I hope you did your research, but it really would just depend on how the U.S. regulations are and just how loose they are, how tight they are about that. But hey, again, it's publicity. It's good publicity for cannabis. And I mean, hey, at least Gwyneth has, put that propaganda past her and been like, no, look, there's a lot of potential, whether it's with CBD, whether it's with THC, whether it's with hemp as biomass to, create clean, renewable energy. There's so much potential for the plant when we don't think of it as criminal. Ah, goodness. And then Canadian study finds a link between starting medical cannabis and stopping drinking, which is pretty fascinating, but not surprising. 43.5% of study participants who used marijuana as a substitute for alcohol decreased their frequency of drinking. I myself have quit drinking this year. It was a goal for me to just go 365 days without it. I haven't had a drink since January 8th, which is pretty awesome, and I'm in the best shape of my life. I feel amazing. I don't want to drink again, but, I do enjoy a good time with friends. But this was quite interesting. The study with just over 2,000 patients, which gathered details on patient demographics, patterns of weed use, and self-reported issue of prescription drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and illicit drugs before starting medical cannabis. And what they found was that, 43.5% said that the frequency of their drinking fell. That's a lot. That's a huge number. 34.1% of participants cited a drop in the number of standard drinks consumed weekly. 59% had no change, and 7% noted an increase. Now, that's just a lot of money saved if you're not going out to drink a few times on a weeknight. And essentially, if you want to put that money to something better, that's a great alternative habit. Now, again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I think that was this is great to pull up because more studies are proving that there's actually amazing benefits with reducing crime, deaths, and all this nonetheless. But let's see how Colorado fared in July. Sales blew past $200 million in July, and Colorado has 4.5 million people. Now, of course, there's a big tourist destination, but still, nonetheless, only 4.5 million people, and that's doing as much money as Canada did in all of June. Amazing. So when we jump over and we just take a look at the Colorado Department of Revenue, their numbers from July 14th to now, it's just amazing. So when we look at total sales to date, this is where they started at. So imagine legalizing January 2014, and you bring in your first month $46 million, then 92. That's double. Then 147, 200. That took 2 months to double. And look at just the compounded growth. And compound is, of course, every time your money doubles once. So we're starting at 46.5 million. Compounded, at least compounded there. Compounded another time. This growth potential is uncanny. So that's why I'm encouraging investors to just take this seriously. Cannabis is not going anywhere. And look at this. Even when they reach $1 billion in revenue, you're going up by 100 million every single month, up by 200. These numbers are blowing it out of the park. So when you actually think at the start of January 2018, Colorado sold $4.6 billion in cannabis in total to date. At the end of the December, $6 billion. So that went from 4.6 to 6 billion. Then from 6.1 billion to 7.7 billion, 7.9 billion to 8.9 billion. This is still almost, compounding every 2 years. So, Canada's just getting started. You've got every other single state, and you've got these U.S. multi-state operators already getting a head start in those, and you've got these LPs in Canada. I mean, again, a free is likely the only best one. That's not advice. That's just my opinion. But nonetheless, do your own research. So just wanted to bring it back. Now, I apologize, everyone. This episode's gone on longer than I wanted it to. I'm going to keep them going forward under about 10 minutes. And I know I can ramble on, but please let me know in the description how you found this video. Did you find it informative and useful? I do apologize. I do kind of do this on the go. I don't always write a script. I will try and be a bit more organized going forward. But please let me know in the comments and give me some feedback because, like I said, I'm going to aim for 10 minutes going forward, but I'm going to be doing more videos like this every Sunday covering the prior week. So next Sunday, I will do the first week of November, election results and what we can expect going forward. And then I'll be very happy to see you every single Sunday as I drop a new one of these. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe as well if you don't want to miss any future videos. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.